everybody. This is Chairman Chats with Southbridge Town Council Chairman Jack Jovan. I'm joined today by Bay Path Regional Vocational Technical High School Superintendent of Schools, John Lafleche. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Jack. Good afternoon.
Happy New Year. The 2020 is upon us.
Yes, same to you.
Yes, and you, longtime superintendent of the schools, but not only that, you're a longtime friend of mine, going back, graduating from high school in 1980, John. So 40 years is our anniversary of graduating from high school. Can you believe that?
It's coming too quickly, but Southbridge High School was a great experience for us. And then, as you recall, we went on to college together at UMass Amherst.
Absolutely. We shared a lot of fun times and a lot of experiences together. And I'm happy to join with you today to talk about Bay Path. Now, you've been superintendent of schools at Bay Path for how long now?
Since the summer of 2012, and of course I was the business manager at Bay Path beginning in 2000. So I've been there almost 20 years now. 20
years. It just seems like yesterday that you started there, and I remember there was a little bit of things going on up there, and you really righted the ship along with your team up there.
Absolutely, and it's been a great 20 years, and I'm very proud of what our entire team has done, and I think we have an outstanding vocational school up on the hill in Charlton, of which a large percentage of our students come from the town of Southbridge.
Yeah, so, and many residents might not even know that really Bay Path is one of our schools in the district. I've had the superintendent receiver, Dr. Villar here. We spent a couple shows talking about the middle school, high school, and opportunities for students there. And you have a specialty type of school that services our students. And approximately how many students from Southbridge go there?
Right now we're close to 200 who are able to come up and take advantage of our 22 shops and vocations. And we have some great students from Southbridge and all the surrounding towns. We have 1,160 students now up at Bay Path.
And that's an expansion over the last couple of years, right?
Absolutely. We keep growing a little bit, although we don't want to overpopulate the building because, of course, the shops need the space to make sure that they're training the kids in the state-of-the-art technologies. So we're pretty much capped out at 1,160 now.
Okay. And when you say capped out, you just recently did a huge renovation expansion up there, didn't you?
Yes, and unfortunately, Jack, the MSBA wouldn't give us extra room. So we still have students on a waiting list. But what we were able to accomplish with the addition renovation is decramp the whole building. Over the last 20 years prior to the renovation, the school had to take space from the shops and create classrooms. Because when the school was originally built in the late 60s, there weren't as many support programs like special education and all of the various MCAS remediation programs and so forth. So we found that we lost a lot of shop space. So we added 50,000 square feet to the building. If you come up to the school, there's a brand new wing right in the front. In fact, I often joke that my desk is now sitting where my parking spot used to be because we used part of the parking lot to expand. And now all of our shops have returned to the adequate space that they need to do a great job. And of course, we were also able to get some new equipment during that renovation.
And it's always great when we can do these renovations. And MSBA, we had our struggles with MSBA when we built a new middle school, high school, very strict in what they will build for you, even though we may feel, or we do know that we have a need. Trying to get that to the State House sometimes, or the state partners, is the tough spot. So I commend you and your staff for putting that facilities together. As you are aware, last year I had an opportunity to visit your school. You had done a project for the town manager for the Substance Abuse Advisory Committee, putting banners together, and we had an opportunity to tour the school. You led a tour of the school, and I've been up there another time, and we'll talk about that. But the tour that I had, I was with Deputy Chief Dingy and yourself, and I was really amazed at the quality of programs that you had there and the students that you had there. It was a fabulous experience. All the shops. I didn't realize all the different trades that you have.
Right, and as I say, we're up to 22, and they change from time to time. We phase out programs where we don't feel we'll be successful in getting jobs for kids. That is one of our primary focus, to make sure we're training them for jobs that are available. And when we do that, when we eliminate a program, we oftentimes bring in new programs. So for example, about 4 years ago now, we started a dental assisting program. Last year was the first year we had graduates, and when they graduate, they're certified dental assistants, and they can go right into work in dental offices assisting dentists. They can also go on to college if that's their choice. Some of them we know are studying, although it's a long haul because they just graduated last year, to become dentists. All right. Last year we opened the Information Support and Services and Networking Shop, ISSN. These are the folks that take care of your computers at town hall or in a big company. So that's a brand new program. And you may have seen recently that we're pursuing a program right here in Southbridge on Worcester Street to open up a veterinary hospital with the Second Chance Animal Shelter.
Yeah, I was excited to read that in the newspaper, and I've had an opportunity to share a coffee with you, and we talked about that a little more in depth. That's going on Worcester Street in a building that's vacant now? Is that where that's going?
Yes, that most recently was the Jehovah Witness Kingdom Hall, and I was speaking with a native of Southbridge yesterday at the Rotary Club. And I guess even prior to the Jehovah Witnesses being there, it was a restaurant back in the 50s. So that building has been here for a while. What's going to happen is the Second Chance Animal Shelter bought the building. Next year, Bay Path is suspending its house building program. Every year we build a house in one of the towns, but next year we're going to suspend that program, and the kids in the carpentry program are going to come down and completely renovate that. So when you look at that building, there's a beautiful parking lot in back. If you enter in from that door, that's the first floor, and that's going to be completely renovated into classrooms. And then the veterinary hospital will be on the second floor, and that will be run by Second Chance and our students. And they'll have hands-on experience actually taking care of the animals, cleaning the animals, and so forth as part of their curriculum. So we're very excited about that, and we know that there's a high level of interest amongst prospective students.
And that's, we talk a lot about, and I've been very vested in education, as you know, in Southbridge, being on the school committee for a number of years, and we always talk about kids going from high school to college, and we know the expense of college nowadays, and the value of a vocational training program. Do you see the trades such as, we know there's a lack of electricians, plumbers, and that sort. Do you see many kids gravitate into those shops now, going back? Because there is, you can make a good living and good income, not go to college, you're coming right out of Bay Path, right, with a trade.
And it's interesting that you point that out, Jack, because as the economy changes, we see to a certain degree the interest of the students change. Right now, our most popular program is electrical. That program is completely full and has a fairly long waiting list. The plumbing shop, once again, has a few students waiting. It's full. Carpentry is full. Okay, in fact, we had an excess of kids in the carpentry shop the last few years. So yes, the trades are becoming very popular. At Bay Path, we have between 30 and 40% of the kids who opt to go to college, but the rest of them are going into the world of work or the military. We do have about 5% of our students going into the military, and about 55 to 60% going into work. Every year, the state mandates that we do a study or a review of where our students are 1 year after they graduate. And we've had about 3 or 4% who haven't found their way yet, but the balance have either gone to college, to work, or to the military. And in those trades that you've mentioned, along with a few others, we have students going right from Bay Path into $50,000, $60,000 a year jobs in the trades. Naturally, some of them have to do some apprentice time. You have to do so many years to become a journeyman plumber and a master plumber. We also offer courses at night so that current tradesmen can maintain their licenses and grow. But yes, the trades are very, very popular. And Bay Path is really about providing students with options. We give them the tools to do what they want when they graduate. They can go to college or they can go to work. But like I say, the majority right now are going right into the world of work. And that's important because our local companies need these young workers.
Yeah, and you know, there's many people that I talk to that have simple tasks at their homes that they need done, such as a quick plumbing change or a light fixture changed. And I just had this conversation this morning with retired Fire Chief Lenny Laporte, who's an electrician.
Yep.
And we talked about the fact that there's a lot of people that try to get electricians, but there's so many building projects going on because of the economy that those big companies are all outsourced to these larger jobs, and to try to get the licensed electrician to come to the house, there's just such a shortage of them.
Right.
That it's a challenge.
Well, you may have heard about our cooperative education program. Second semester, junior year, and all of senior year, students who wish to get a job in their trade can do so, and they'll go to work for 40 hours every other week instead of coming into the shop every other week. And we have 165 students every year who are out on co-op working in their industry. Now again, when you talk about plumbers and electricians, for example, a lot of times they are going to the big companies because they need that experience before they can cut out on their own. But I'm very proud when we run into folks who graduated from Bay Path and have their own businesses, very successful businesses. We have some HVACs, some plumbing, electrical companies. Those all came from Bay Path. So it takes a little while because you need the experience. We can give them a great start until they get to be 18 years old, but as you know, those are very difficult professions, so they need more time. And that's why I've heard a lot of folks say, well, you know, anybody can go into Bay Path, and we need, the kids need to be motivated, the kids need to be given excellent academics, because you don't want somebody coming to your house who doesn't know what they're doing. So between our academic offerings, which include AP courses and so forth, and the hands-on learning from the experts in the field, we have all these students coming out, and they can make a good living, they can make their way in their life. They've learned quite a bit.
And you just talked about academics and the academic offerings that you had. You're still mandated as a vocational school to have those students pass whatever the state is calling itself now, MCAS, or the Student Achievement Test. You're still mandated to meet those standards, aren't you?
Yes, and so, you know, it presents some interesting work, because we have students coming from 7 different school systems, and so you can imagine that the curriculum in those schools are not aligned completely with each other. So they're coming to us from different places. So immediately, as freshmen, we have to get them kind of oriented to what the task at hand, which is passing the MCAS in the 10th grade for math and English. Within the last couple of years, we've implemented a STEM/engineering course, because on the science MCAS, there's a number of offerings. So what we've done is we've put the science MCAS is now a STEM course, science, technology, and engineering, and math, and they're taking that in the freshman year. And we're finding about 90% are successful with that on their first try. What does that mean? It means those 90% that pass their science MCAS as 9th graders, they now have more time to focus on math and English MCAS when they get to their sophomore year. We do have some students that obviously require remediation past the 10th grade, and we have special courses for that. And, but we're very proud of our academics. The good thing, Jack, is that the vocational side of the house is often a hook to get a student who might not be as motivated, but he or she loves coming to shop, and they know they have to perform and do their academics.
Right, and it's always about getting the hook into a student. It could be whatever on the public, you know, here at the middle school, high school, the hook could be music, it could be
Right.
athletics, it could be band. That's their hook, and with you, it's the...
Well, I know that Southbridge and other academic schools have great musical offerings. They also usually have a drama or a theater component, those kinds of things. And we're not able to do that because our schedule is so tight. We don't have music during the day, and we don't have electives really to speak of, because the kids are in their academics all day. We don't have study halls at the high school. So it's very rigorous. It's very rigorous.
And that's why you said earlier that you have to, you know, your students are really motivated, and they really have to be, because half of a year is really their academic, half of a year is vocational. So you really have to be motivated and good time management to succeed.
That's a very, very good point. They're spending only 90 days in their academic classes, okay, because the other 90 days they're in their vocational. Now, there are other vocational schools that may use a different model. Things evolve. But as I said last night, we had a meeting of all of our vocational programs last night. We are a vocational school, and in my mind, and at least while I've been the superintendent, I have always worked to protect vocational time. We need those kids. We want those kids to come out and be able to be good draftspeople, be good plumbers, be good engineers, be good healthcare workers. They need the time to learn in their shop. I mean, I passed the nursing home here in Southbridge on my way down to meet you, and that's an area I'm very proud of because even yesterday when I went to the Rotary Club, we took a bus down to the Rotary Club, and I said, well, how come we're taking a bus? We have a van. Well, we had to pick up the health tech students who were doing their clinical work at the Southbridge Nursing Home, okay? And those kids are learning hands-on how to work with the elderly and people in institutions. And I have to tell you that I've seen the elderly when they're working with our kids, and it brings them a little bit of joy. So it's a very rewarding place to work, and it's the kids that give us those rewards because you can't imagine what they accomplish, even as youngsters, the things that they can do.
Right, and I know of several students, young adults that have went through your CNA program. They get a CNA, correct?
CNA, yeah, EKG certification.
Right, but
Yep.
many that have been CNAs that are now working in large hospitals as registered nurses, and it was a good foundation for them. So congratulations to you on
Yeah,
that.
thank you. And that's one of the programs that if you looked at the percentages, a little higher percentage go to college because they want to be nurses. Some want to be practical nurse, not practical nurses, I'm sorry. The nurses that can prescribe.
Nurse practitioners.
Nurse practitioner, thank you, I'm sorry. So they're really out there learning and earning and making a contribution to our society.
So I had an opportunity to, I think earlier in the fall, you had an awards program with some of the state senators and state reps that had come in to talk about your manufacturing program, is that correct?
Absolutely.
And certifications that you had, and there was a number of students that were recognized at a high level, and I think your school is one of the top in the state, I believe.
Yes.
Could you explain that a little bit? Because I wouldn't do it service or a disservice to try to explain what I went through, but it was a fabulous presentation in the shop that was from, a lot of the equipment was from a local manufacturer, is that correct?
That's right. So you're referring to what's called MACWIC, the Massachusetts Manufacturing Partnership, which is a body put together by the state. About 5 or 6 years ago, came up with a standard 5-level training program. And manufacturers throughout the state agreed to hire anybody who came out with what's called MACWIC Level 1. It goes from Level 1 to Level 5. The Level 5 would be people who are doing engineering and that kind of thing. So several years ago we got involved in presenting this curriculum to the students, and it comes with a test at the end of each year. And you were there because Bay Path scored, our students scored the highest percentage passing the MACWIC Level 1, and we were third in the state on MACWIC Level 2. And in addition, 60% of the kids got a special recognition because their scores were so high. So the senators and MMPE was there to celebrate that with the kids because it's hard work. They're doing a lot of metrology, a lot of blueprint reading, using of the CNCs, because as you can imagine now, most of our machinery in our machine shops, even locally, are computer numerical control, so you have to know something about computers. It's not the old days. Here you have to get some book work to be able to run the machines properly. And you mentioned the company, and we've had an outstanding relationship with United Lens and Mr. and Mrs. DeGregorio. They had been outstanding supporters of the school, and in fact, if you come to the school, you'll see that we've named it the Albert DeGregorio Machine Shop. And even today, manufacturers in Southbridge are supporting our robotics that come through there. So it's very important. We have 300 business people who sit on what is called advisory committees for each of our 22 programs. And the reason for that is because they come to the school twice a year to tell us what is changing in industry, what do we need to do to stay current. But also in that advanced manufacturing shop, we were talking that day, although the folks weren't there, we have a partnership with the Adult Basic Education Program from the Webster Public Schools. And in fact, last year they encompassed Southbridge as well, so residents of Southbridge can take advantage of that. And what happens is they send us adults who need to learn to get their GED, basically. Now they call it HiSEP. While they're getting the book work on their GED, they're also learning machining.
Wow.
The first class, there were 7 students. All 7 passed the MACWIC 1 and eventually the MACWIC 2, and all of them went en masse to a local employer and got a job after their program. So in about 13, 14 weeks with us, they ended up with a GED and a job in advanced manufacturing. And so to me, that's the kind of gratifying work that we're there to do.
That's an incredible program. I wasn't aware of that, so that kudos to the people that put that together.
So if there are residents who are looking for GED and or training in Southbridge, if you're a resident of Southbridge, you can call the Webster ABE. They do have some grant money this year, and I know we'll be starting up a program in the spring. So.
Yeah, and also I would like to mention too is there was a lot of young women that got the recognition, that were recognized, and I think they commented from the manufacturing end that that's not typical that you have a lot of young females that get involved in that. So you do have a lot that are taking advantage of this program.
So we have 2 outstanding instructors in that program. Both, well, Mr. Ostergy graduated from the Tantascwa manufacturing program, and his partner graduated from Bay Path about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little longer than that. And all of our instructors have outstanding rapport with the girls and the boys. And during their first freshman year, they have to go through what's called exploratory. The freshmen go through exploratory. They see 9 different shops. And we have a mandate to put girls and boys in what's called non-traditional shops. So a boy might be put into the cosmetology shop for a week to see if that's something they like. And a lot of girls go through the manufacturing or carpentry or plumbing because it's not traditional for women to be in those shops or for men to be like in the cosmetology or health shops. And through that exposure, we're seeing a lot of, in this case, girls going to advanced manufacturing.
That's great. So we've been given the 5-minute mark. It's hard to believe that we've been talking. It's gone by real fast. I always enjoy talking to you too, Superintendent Lafleche. You obviously, Bay Path does a lot of projects for the town, and before we close today, and I'd love to have you back so that we can talk about it, and perhaps we'll go to the site and maybe the cable, we can go down there and talk about it. But Bay Path is going to partner again. You do a lot of partnerships with the local towns, not just Southbridge, but all the local towns. But you're working on a new animal shelter project?
Yeah, and actually, Jack, that's a project that I'm very pleased to see came to some fruition. We've been talking about it with you. We did some design work for a couple of years. And now, refresh my memory, what's the name of the street that it's located?
It's going to go off of Charlton Street by Charlton Street School.
Yeah, there's a road. Is that a separate road? Or is
No, I think it is, yeah.
So it's right off Charlton Street. And about a month ago, I think I sent you a note that said the State Plumbing Board has given us approval. So we're going to go down, in the first phase, we're going to deconstruct some of the building that's there. We're going to move a lot of the plumbing. And then all next year, our students will be converting that building that's there now into the new animal shelter. And I think I mentioned that we're not building a house next year because all of the kids are going to be in Southbridge. Some will be at the animal shelter, some will be at the animal hospital. And really, it's an exciting project. And quite frankly, it's going to give them a lot of good experience, which is the number one issue for us at school, is to make sure we're getting them prepared to go out and do things in the real world. And at the same time, I think it's going to help Southbridge save some money and get an asset, because if I'm not mistaken, right now you use Oxford's shelter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it's what everybody would call a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the most important win is for the kids.
Right.
you know?
Well, yeah, and it's great. They're learning, but they're also giving back to their towns.
And they love it. The other night I was at the school, and I told you we have courses for adults in the trades. So the electrical course is a very long one. They have a lot of hours. And I'm in the foyer, and when we redid the building, we moved some sports memorabilia cabinets into the foyer, and those were built a number of years ago by the students. So I'm just standing there. I don't know these folks coming by, and this one young man, maybe mid-20s or 30s, says to his buddy, "Yeah, I can't believe it. We built these when I was here, and you see that dental work at the top? That was my." And so they take ownership. They're proud of it, and it's a fantastic place. And one little anecdote, Jack. When I got there 20 years ago, I said, well, I'm just going to stay in my office. I was the business manager. I said, because I don't want to get out and, I don't know what's going on up here. The vocational director at that time said, come on, we're going to go see the shops. I said, okay. I got back to my office and I was embarrassed because we have freshmen and sophomores doing things in those shops that at my age, which I won't tell you what that is, I can't do.
No, I'm with you.
And it's tremendous, and it gives you a sense of hope and pride for the future.
So, your career at Bay Path's coming to a close. You're retiring in August, which I think everybody in the community is sad to see. So your career started here in the town of Southbridge.
1986, as we were talking about, believe it or not, folks, in 1986, I was the first full-time senior center director down at Casabon Senior Center when we used to be on La Rochelle Way.
So we're going to, because time is coming to a close, we're going to leave it at that, but I'm going to invite you back. We're going to talk a little bit more about maybe what's going on. We'll touch again on the animal shelter, see how that's going, maybe take a tour. But come back to a fireside chat, and we'll talk about your career as you close out, all the good things, because you have a long history. We have a long history together. You've been a great asset to the town of Southbridge. I know you're well revered here in the town hall, well respected, and you've done a great job no matter where you have gone. So on behalf of the town council, I'm going to have you back, but we'll wish you luck as you close out the final months of your career at Bay Path. And I know you're not going to be a stranger to this town of Southbridge, because I know I rely on you for a lot of guidance and support. As chairman, I know I can pick up the phone and call you, and you have a lot of history, and it's always good to know the history. As one of my colleagues on the council tells me all the time, you got to know your history. You do know the history, you and your colleagues. I'd like to thank you for being a good counsel to me and being a good partner to the town of Southbridge and the Southbridge Town Council.
Jack, it's been my pleasure, and I think we both operate the same way. We treat Southbridge and the responsibility like we would treat our own life and family. And
Absolutely.
It's been wonderful.
It's our town, and we grew up here. So, John, thank you. Happy New Year,
Thank
2020,
you.
and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
On behalf of Southbridge Cable TV, I'd like to thank you for being here today on this Chairman Chats, and thank you again to Southbridge Cable Access and the crew for allowing me these opportunities to bring special guests to town so that we have an idea of what goes on behind the scenes. And thank you, and have a good day.